Welcome back, you guys. It's Rockability here with another crazy Minecraft Bedrock tutorial. Before me, I have the ultimate Minecraft Bedrock TNT blast chamber for concrete, basalt, and cobblestone. Now, I spent hours on making this fully customizable to your guys' needs and wants. So please consider hitting the like button and smashing the subscribe button, for they'll make all my mistakes and explosions worth it. So to give you guys a quick overview on how this thing works. First, when coming up to the input chamber, you guys will see this light up here. This light, when on, tells you have 41 TNT or less in the system, and if there's no TNT in the system, it will shut itself down to stop from breaking itself. Now, when coming in here, this first looks a little cramped, and with all the trapdoors, but once you guys understand how this works, it will make a whole lot more sense. So because all these TNT generators to make basalt and cobblestone require lava, we need to stop the lava from flowing everywhere. So that's where most of these trapdoors are for. So to first explain everything, let's first start with the piston. So if you want to use a generator, you need a slower timer, whereas if you're going to place a blocks by yourself, for example, concrete powder, you want a faster timer. So over here, I have two timers. I have the AFK timer, and I have the fast timer. So this fast timer up here is great for placing concrete, because it'll just go really quick. Whereas if I turn that off first and then turn on the AFK timer, you'll notice it's slower. So this is better if you're going to not be at the computer all the time, or if you're going to press a button to turn on the lava. This is great for cobblestone. And if you want to instead have basalt, over here behind this trapdoor, there is a blue ice on and off switch. So by pressing that lever, that moves the blue ice right there. So it's easy for you to access. And then you just turn off the AFK timer, and that'll turn the whole thing off. And of course, the blue ice you can also turn off just flicking the lever. Now, when doing concrete, a lot of you guys, if you want to do concrete, you want to do long periods of time AFK. So I made sure to make this ready for that too. A lot of you guys will have noticed there's hoppers on the floor. So if you drop an item here, it will go through the system and go right back to this dropper silently. So then all you have left to do is turn on your comparator clock, which you can make it slow, make it fast, make it whatever speed you want. And while mentioning that, the AFK timer, if you want that even slower, you can increase the timing right here. And in doing so, it will this dropper right here will spit out the concrete powder right into your inventory. And if your inventory is full, then it will just go back in the hoppers and it'll get dispensed again, as you can see here. But now you guys have seen how the interface looks and works. How about we see how good this machine actually is? So over here, I have done several hours of testing just to make sure that this works 100% of the time and it's perfectly AFKable. And here is what I found. The best thing to use this for is concrete, of course, because it has such a low blast resistance. Which, if you don't know, blast resistance is just how easy it is to explode something up. So, concrete has the lowest blast resistance of all three of these blocks, so you're going to get the most of it. So with only 8 TNT, you get 5 stacks and 20 some blocks. And again, this is an estimate, it isn't 100% every single time. Whereas basalt, you'll get something very similar with around 5 stacks. And then cobblestone, having the biggest blast resistance of them all, you get 2 stacks and 40, 43. You get just under 3 stacks with 8 pieces of TNT. So if you want basalt and concrete, this is great for it. Cobblestone, not so much, but it still will work. Now with that out of the way, let's start the tutorial. Okay guys, so in order to start this, we're going to need a 13 by 13 area. And so this is just 13 blocks by 13 blocks. And then right here in the center is where we're going to have our collection area. So first we're going to need a chest or wherever your final input's going to be. And then we're going to put a line of hoppers going into this hopper, which is going straight into that single chest in the center. Then we're going to put a border all the way around this. Then I'm putting a glass block right on top of the chest so we can still open it. Now, if we were to place water right now, it would flow down, but it wouldn't quite reach the hoppers. So that means we need to raise it up just 2 blocks here on the opposite end from the hoppers. And then to keep the water from flowing off the edges, we're going to raise the walls just like so. And once we get that, we can then place our water. Once you get all the water in, it should flow all the way up right to the hoppers. Alright, now it's time to work on the observer detection system. So when we come over to this side where the hoppers are on the right and the water's flowing from the left, we need to go to the dead center. So 4, 5, 6, here's the dead center. And then we're going to come out, a total of 4 blocks, go up 1, and then we'll place 4 observers coming straight out, and then 1 observer going back in. Right there we'll have a redstone torch. When we break this block, the redstone torch should flash. That means you have your observers lined up correctly. Now, if any items fall on top of the observer, it obviously will not go to the collection system. So in order to fix that, we're going to have a water stream running right on top of that. So we'll have 5 blocks, and we'll just put a couple blocks right around the edges to keep the water from flowing elsewhere. Now, if we were to just put this water bucket right here, it would obviously not flow along the line, it would flow off. So we're going to put some temporary blocks right here, and we are going to place our trapdoors. The reason why we're using trapdoors instead of full blocks is simply because they have a smaller hitbox, and they are very high in blast resistance. I mean, they won't blow up very easily. Then when we put the water there, it should end right on the observer. Once you got that, we're now going to move up to the pistons. So the pistons, if you didn't know, have a push limit of 12 blocks. So we're going to measure from the observer up 12 blocks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Once you're up 13 blocks, we'll go up 2 more, so 15 blocks high. Then we'll put a piston facing down. And if you want to make sure that you put this at the right height, you can put a torch next to it, and it won't be able to extend because it's already at the piston push limit. And then from here, we'll put pistons coming this side. One up, and 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4 in, out, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in, out, 1, 2, 4 in, out, and more. And then with that, you should have a circle of piston. Now this is where the piston line is going to be, and I'm going to go ahead and break these temporary blocks we placed earlier. So from the side of where the observer is, on the left-hand side, is where we're going to put our input piston. That input piston is going to be 5 blocks away from here. I mean 3. So 1, 2, 3. And right here, we will put input piston. Now any blocks that go here will flow inward that direction. Now all the blocks are going to come in this one single stream, and we need to move those blocks over. So we're going to grab our obsidian, and we want to make sure that the blocks cannot go past this piston. So we're going to put 1 obsidian right here, and then once the blocks get to that obsidian, we need to push them. So we will have piston here, and then we'll also have an observer facing this direction. And then we'll put just some blocks right along the back where we'll have redstone dust connecting the observer to the piston. Then we'll come over here to this side. There's 2 pistons facing inward, so that means we need 2 obsidian blocks. And then from this direction, we will have to put 2 pistons and then 1 observer again. And then, like you guessed it, we have to do that one more time. So right here, those 2 pistons are going to come in. So we need obsidian there. Piston right here. Observer here. Now, just in case there is a little bit more of an overflow or some lag, we're going to put 2 more obsidian right here. Make sure that those 2 pistons cannot push past these 2 obsidian. Once you get done that, you are done with your obsidian for this entire build. Now, when all the blocks flow into the system, they're first going to come from this piston. It's going to flow all the way around, those 2 pistons pushing here, these 2 pushing here, then these 2 pushing here, and the final block is going to be placed right here. When that happens, we need to detect that and then power these top pistons. So, to push the pistons down, which will then trigger that observer, which will then trigger the TNT, blowing it all up. So from right here, we're going to take an observer output, and we're going to go down from that, and then over to the right. And from there, we're going to get our redstone torches back out again. We'll put a redstone torch, block, torch, block. And then on top of all these pistons, we'll put just a small line of redstone dust. Now, to give a quick example, if I was to place a block right here on the observer, pistons would push it down, but they would continue to push down because that observer would continue to detect it. So in order to fix that, we're going to end up putting a second backline in order for it only to listen to the first observer signal instead of the entire observer signal, both the first and second. So in order to do that, we'll need our repeaters, and we'll put a repeater on 4 ticks, repeater on 1 tick. We'll put dust here, put a block on top of that so it doesn't connect to the pistons. We'll put a block up here, block there, glass block here, and then we'll just connect it like so. Now once we put this torch back right here, that should fix everything. So we can just place 1 block on the observer, I'll push that down, and then these observers are going to detect that, and that's just going to push them around 1 more time, which is just fine. Once you got that, you got this top part majority done. So we're going to work on the TNT blaster part. So coming all the way back down here where this observer and torch is, we're going to do block, torch, all the way up till we make it to the starting piston. Alright, so now that we are 2 blocks away from the piston, so we are a total of 2 blocks shorter than the piston, we're going to go over just 2 torches. And then we're going to go in 1, go out 1, and we'll go up 1, and then we'll go over 2 more times. And then this is the torch that we're going to mess with. So from right here, we are going to take a repeater output on 4 ticks, and that's going to go straight into a block. That block's going to have a torch on it. It's going to have a block on top, which is another torch and another block. From this top block, we are going to have a comparator. We're going to have a comparator decay clock going, so we'll have here, here, then we'll have just redstone dust flowing in between those, and 1 block here to slow it down a little bit. Right here we'll have glass with dust. Then here we're going to have our dispenser, and that dispenser is going to have our TNT. I recommend wait before placing the TNT till we finish the system, but if you want to put the TNT now, you can. There's always a chance we will accidentally trigger it when finishing the build. Then coming down here to where we're going to make the holding chamber to hold the TNT to the perfect time to release it so it blows up the maximum amount of blocks possible. We're going to come down here and we're going to have another decay clock using the comparators. So comparators like so, and then dust in between them. But this is not quite long enough, so we're going to have a second one here, and this second one's going to be a little bit longer. Block like so. 2 going in, 2 going out, with dust in between. Now from this torch right here, we are going to have a repeater line. So right here we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 repeaters, and all those repeaters will be on 4 ticks. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once you got all of those, it will go up a block into kind of a roundabout, and then on this top one we'll have a repeater on 3 ticks. Right there we'll connect that all up. That'll go into a block, and then right here we will have a piston, and that piston's not a sticky piston again. So then right here we're going to have dust and this dust, and then on the other side here we'll have another repeater on 4 ticks. Then we'll have a block, then we'll have a torch, and on the other side of this torch, we'll have another normal piston. Now, in order to make sure that the TNT never blows up our detection observers, we have to push it very slightly off-center so it will never do that. So this is where we need our 1 stone wall in the build. We're going to put that right here. And then just all around this, you can put solid or glass blocks, just like so. Alright, and with that, you have finished the TNT holding chamber. So we're now going to work on the actual input chamber. This is where you're going to be placing your concrete, powder blocks, or you're going to be having your basalt get generated, or your cobblestone get generated. So we want to detect when there's ever any lag in the system, or for some reason the observers doesn't trigger, which can happen in some cases. We need to make sure that the system will fix itself so this is fully AFKable. In order to do that, we're going to have to take an observer output from right here, and that's going to detect whenever there's not being a block placed, or the piston's not extending for a reason or another. Then we'll put a block on top of that, and then we'll have glass like so. Then right here, we're going to get out our comparators once again. The comparators are going to go in, out, and then we'll have dust connecting all of that. Now we're going to need to grab our glass blocks again, come out 2 blocks, and we're going to have a repeater on 2 ticks and then a repeater on 4 ticks. This pretty much will, whenever the observer detects it, we'll place a block here. It's going to keep this powered at all times until this decay clock finishes. So breaking that block again because we do not need that. I'm going to get our solid blocks back out again as a temporary block, and we're going to have a dropper here, create kind of a monostable circuit. Whenever it's powered, it's going to be on. Whenever it's not powered, it's going to be off. So right here, we'll have a comparator, and then in this, we can put just any type of junk item we want. So now, once again, when this turns on, it will be powered, and when there's no more signals coming through, it'll turn off. Then right here, we will have another system. So this will be dropper going up, and then we'll have just a hopper line going all the way around. Then we can put our junk item, we can put another junk item right into this. And this, once again, this is kind of a monostable circuit, but it's to give us just a 1-tick pulse every time this comparator turns off. Then from this hopper right here, we'll take a comparator output that will go into a block. We'll go into 2 more blocks right here. On these, we'll have 2 repeaters. So anytime that there is no signal coming from the input chamber, it's going to do one of 2 things. It's going to first try to push the pistons downward, and that's what it's going to do here. And second, on this repeater on 2 ticks, it's going to activate all these pistons on all these sides, and that should always fix the problem. We're just going to put a block up here, put a block right here, and we'll just create a quick chain going all the way across. Right here, then this block line all the way out, like so. Then right here, we'll have a repeater. This repeater will be on 2 ticks. And right here, we'll have a repeater on 1 tick, and we'll just connect up the redstone dust line. We'll just put a redstone line all the way right across this. And then right here, we will have a repeater on 3 ticks. With that, your safety system is done. So if we break this block right here to trigger the system, right now it's saying nothing is happening. So it's going to trigger the top pistons, and it's going to do everything in a circle, and that should fix the system. Now with that done, we need to finally finish the input chamber right here. So this is where, obviously, your generators, or where you're going to be placing concrete powder blocks. So we're going to take a soul sand block and place that just underneath this piston, just underneath right here, because the basalt generator is the only one that needs a soul sand or any type of block right underneath it. That is going to stay stationary the entire time. Now, all of them need some type of water block. So either that's blue ice, or you need water itself. We're going to make a little water holding chamber right here. The water will just sit right here in a flowing position. Then we'll have the blue ice right here, but in order to extend that whenever we need, this is where we need our 1 sticky piston of the entire build, and that sticky piston will go right there. Right in front of that, we'll have our blue ice, and then of course our water bucket. Blue ice, and then we'll have our water bucket right here. Now in order to trigger this blue ice piston, what we'll do is we'll come right around here on the other side of this soul sand, and here's where we're going to have our first configuration lever. From that lever, we're going to come underneath it, and we will have a repeater, like so, and that's going to go straight into a block, torch, a block, and then another torch. So now when we turn it on, it'll push the blue ice out. When you turn it off, it'll pull it back in. And that is for basalt, cobblestone, or white, or if you want to make concrete. Alright, so the next part we're going to work on is triggering this piston for either the AFK, which is a slower timer, or the speed timer, which is faster, of course. So right here, we're going to put a glass block, and then we're going to have 2 redstone dust going right on top of that. We'll then grab our solid block, then we'll have solid blocks going all the way around. We'll put a comparator here on subtract mode, redstone dust going all the way around. And this is a simple comparator subtraction clock, in case you didn't know. So whenever we turn it on, the comparator sends a signal out, and then it's going to subtract from itself, giving this flashing signal. And then when we turn it off, it will stop, of course, then stop the piston. And then we hear all the other pistons extend because the observer this traction observer no longer sees any signal coming from this piston. Now, in order to do the second timer, we'll need to put a block right here, and then right here we will have a comparator facing into that block. Then we'll come out 3 blocks, and right here is where we're going to have our dropper facing straight up. Then we'll have just a hopper chain going all the way along back into that hopper. I'm going back into that dropper in a circle pattern. Then what we have to do is put a block up. Then we'll track through that block using a comparator. And so whenever there's an item in there, it's going to trigger through this block and trigger the redstone dust, powering the repeater, which is then going to power another redstone dust. And then we'll have a block right here. So then if we put just our final junk item in here, it's going to trigger the piston, come through, then going to trigger a second time, and go through the system again. Now if you want to make this even slower, you can obviously just extend the repeater, and then in order to stop this timer from going, we will simply come under this hopper, and we will place a lever here. We'll turn that on in order to stop it, and I'll just hold the item right here. Now, if you want to turn this into a generator, all the generators need lava. So in order to do that, we're going to put just a dispenser right here, and then we'll put a block here with a button on it. Now, if we were to press a button right now, it would send lava sitting on that button, then it would spew out this direction and this direction, and it's going to turn all our water down there into cobblestone. So in order to stop that from happening, we are going to grab our trusty old trapdoors again, and we're going to pretty much put it in a cage. Right here, that's going to stop the lava from flowing that direction. And then right here, we will protect this comparator, putting that. So now when we turn on, well, if we put lava in it, it would then work. When we press it, it's going to create cobblestone, and when we press it again, it's going to take back out the lava. So now if you want to make this work with concrete, there are 2 more things that you're going to want. First thing is, if you want to AFK this with concrete, you're going to want to get dispensed concrete powder to you so you can do this over long periods of time. So in order to do that, we are going to have, right here, we're going to end up putting another dropper. So there is a comparator right here, so that is going to break, so we'll just break that and then quickly replace that. Put the dropper, we'll put the trapdoor back down, and then from this, we will simply put just another one of our comparator timers that we worked on earlier. Come around in a circle right here. So we will have a glass block right here with comparator on subtract mode, then redstone dust going all the way around. We'll have a repeater here, and then we'll put a lever once again right there. Now when we turn that repeater on, it's going to pulse that dropper right there, and if you want to slow down the pulse, you can just extend this repeater, and it'll work for all 4 of the settings. Now, one of the biggest things with when you have one of these droppers is most of the time it's going to spit out a few more blocks than you're going to be able to place. So in order to stop from losing items, we're going to need to have hoppers going back into that dropper. So in order to do that, we're going to have 1 dropper going back up, put the concrete powder back into that, and then we're going to take our hoppers, and we're going to put hopper in here, just like so. Now, on the off chance that your inventory is full, it can end up hitting it all the way over here on top of this lever. So in order to fix that, we will also put just a quick spruce trapdoor there, and then we can also put a spruce trapdoor here to stop it from going into this hole. Then if we come all the way back around, we can come to the bottom side and figure out a way to actually trigger this. Whenever there's an item in this dropper will take a comparator output that will go into a block with dust, and then we'll have another repeater, and that repeater will go straight into a block. Now when we put one item in here, so I'll put one smooth stone, it's going to go all the way through, and it's going to go all the way back in this dropper. As you can hear there, it is completely silent. You will not hear a single sound. Now the final thing we have left to do is to have a lamp show on when the TNT is full or when it is empty. So right here, there with our glass blocks, we can actually see this lamp right here when it's lit and when it's not. So that's where we're going to end up placing that. So we're going to take a comparator output straight from this dropper right here, which is where we'll have our TNT. And I'm going to go ahead and place TNT there so you can more easily see how this works. And then we'll place a block there. And then underneath that, we will place 2 blocks with redstone dust on it. Then we'll place just a quick torch, and then we'll place block and dust right on top of that. Now, anytime there is 41 items or less, so if I cut this in half, there's 32, that's less than 41, the lamp is going to be lit. If you let this dropper go to completely 0, we want to make sure that the system turns itself off so it doesn't break itself by pushing items all the way down and the observer can't do nothing. In order to do that, we'll have a torch right there. From that torch, we will have redstone dust here. We'll have torch off the side of that. They'll go down to another redstone dust right here. And then that will go to a torch. So now, whenever there's items in it, it's not going to affect anything. But if we take the entire stack out, it's going to turn on all those pistons, stopping the system from working till you restock your TNT. And with that, you guys, that finishes the entire system. So if you guys enjoyed, hit the like button, and if you really enjoyed, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next video.